Different's great, but being different for the sake of being different, I'm not a big fan of, right? If you just want to be different for the sake
technology
of it.
Technology, I would hide behind it.
And you start to hear some of their challenges, and yes.
Because it speaks to the core of who you are and what drives you forward. Because what makes you different is what drives you.
Hey, what's going on, friends? Steve Spiro, the Master Connector, coming at you live and direct. And I am flying solo today. Rob G, if you're, spiritual in any way, keep him in your prayer, him and his family, because he's lost a loved one, and today is going to be his wake. Tomorrow is the funeral, so please keep him in prayer. But we're going to miss him, but he's where he needs to be with his family, and but we're going to have a great time today. We're going to have an awesome show. So I'm excited, very, very excited to talk to you a little bit today. So, it's interesting, right? So obviously today's topic is, getting over yourself. And this episode we're about to embark on, it's going to be a journey that will inspire you to make the best decisions, maybe write your own story and live authentically. And one of the pillars of our show, right? Connecting authentically. It's all about authenticity. In fact, just to be transparent, I've got a little, stuff, phlegm kind of going on there. So if I cough, forgive me, I'll try to mute out, but we're just all about authenticity, right? So, but you'll see that in what we're talking about today, that life is a series of decisions, some small ones and some monumental. I've had some incredible decisions and things that have happened in my life, including mentorship, including shifting and pivoting, including this show, right? So many things, right? But as we navigate this intricate web, we often find ourselves torn between the rational and the emotional, right? I tend to be a very kind of rational, logical guy, right? But listen, decisions and people move based on emotion, not about rationality and logic, right? So are you living the story you want, or are you letting others dictate your narrative? And for years and years and years, that was me. I was bound by the fact that people, I played the comparison game and I always lost. I was always looking at others and what are other people going to think, and forget that stuff. All right. I wanted to use a different word, but anyway, but it's time to take charge, to break free from external influences and design a narrative that reflects your true essence, right? We speak about, we're going to be speaking about being a beacon. You hear that a lot. We talk about that beacon of light, right? Guiding us towards self-fulfillment. When we behave as our authentic self, our actions align harmoniously with our values. It's not about conforming to societal expectations or wearing a mask to fit in, right? It's about embracing who you truly are. And that's what changed for me. When I finally realized I'm going to be always a second class somebody else, I'm going to be a first class me, things changed. Things really I became empowered, right? So it's going to be amazing. And today's guest has faced life storms. A lot of us have, right? And has emerged even stronger, right? We're going to empower you today to explore a mission to empower you to release your inner greatness. We will uncover the secrets to making conscious decisions, taking control of your narrative, and living a life that aligns with your true self. So if you're ready to bring on our amazing guest today, I'd like you to type in the hashtags right now, #let's go. And I'm the one-man puppeteer here, so I'm going to try to do my best here. So type in #let's go, because we're LinkedIn participants, not LinkedIn lurkers, right? We want to get in here, and I wanted to say again, hello to Yolanda. Amazing having you in here. Ricky Cusio, my man, fellow networker. Great to have you on the show here. So get in the comments. Again, we're participants. Make sure to connect with each other. Let's hear where you're from, your city, your state. Show us you're here, right? Maybe what country you're from, because not everybody's from the U.S. here. But we're going to have a blast today. So again, type in #let's go, and in the comments, Mr. Evan Goldenberg in the house. Appreciate you, Evan, being here with us. And of course, Yolanda from coming in from sunny Texas. But Yolanda says, let's go. But here we go. So let's chat. Let me give you a little bit about our guest here. So Drew Deraney is the proud father of 3, is a resilient leader, published author, speaker, coach, and podcast host whose mission is to catalyze transformational change. I never heard that word, catalyze, but okay. Or I'm hoping I'm saying it right. To change in men's mental health. And of course, we're not just going to keep this only focused on men, but health, wealth, and wellness. So please welcome to the show an incredible friend, new friend for me, Mr. Drew Deraney. Drew, good to have you on here, sir.
Great to be here. Grateful and very appreciative of you, my friend.
Absolutely. Very cool. Very cool. It looks like we have Connor Claflin. I think I'm saying it right. Claflin in the house with us. Great to have you on here. And also Bill Haas in the house here from Chicago. Good to have everyone on here in the show. So we're going to have a blast today. So again, we want your comments. We want you participating. If you have any questions throughout the show, get in the comments. Let's hear them, right? And I'll do the best I can to be the puppet master here and kind of get everything going and try to multitask as best I can. Of course, having Rob G, my co-host and an amazing friend of 27 years. It's always easier because he's helping me. But hey, we'll do the best we can here. We're gonna have a blast, and it's gonna be great. So here's what I want you to do right now as we go into the next topic, or the first question here. And looks like Zach Clayton has joined us. He's a Lion, which I think means LinkedIn Open Network, I believe. Lion. In case you're not sure what Lion means, it doesn't mean he's roaring like a lion, although probably is. But anyway, it looks like Yolanda's welcoming you as well. So type in hashtag. What are we typing in here? Hashtag ego. We're gonna touch in on ego. So let me get to that. So everyone has a little cue here. All right. So type in hashtag ego. And here's our question, right? Drew, in navigating life's challenges, and we talked about that in a bit of the intro here. How did you discover the importance of checking your ego every 15 minutes for better decision making?
Oh, thanks, Steve. It's great to be here. And send my love to Rob Genovese, brother.
Absolutely.
Praying for you, my friend. I'd say it was by accident, man. My ego has always been, getting in my way. Sometimes I'd believe I'm acting assertively, and it looked like I was aggressive on the outside. And it was, I went through 4 faith-shaking moments in 2018, 2019. It was divorce, and it was I got fired from my job. Son had suicidal ideations, and my dad unexpectedly got sick and passed away. Those 4 things blew me away, and I really had to look inward and look outward to my kids and my mother to realize. I realized I wasn't living my true life because I was empty after all this happened. And when I talk about ego, it can be good for you because our ego is there to protect us. It doesn't want us to get hurt. It could be a bad thing too, because the best way to live is to do things scared, go out of your comfort zone, and the ego protects us from going out of our comfort zone. And after all this stuff happened to me, I really did a lot of reflection, thinking about my life and how I've made decisions. And I uncovered that I was a lifelong people pleaser. And people pleasing, the behavior often gets confused with being nice. But honestly, people pleasers, there's some ulterior motives there, because you're putting on that mask and being inauthentic in order to get a response from somebody else, to get them to like you, or to be in their good graces. And in a way, that's wrong, because it feeds your ego. And after all of this happened, and the self-reflection, I did do a lot of research about mindset, self-awareness, and mindfulness. And what I uncovered was that we have 2 types of egos. We have our emotional ego and our rational ego. And when we make decisions in an emotional state or with your emotional ego, more often than not, the decisions are poor. And I made a lot of poor decisions, especially, during the divorce. We went through 3 years of mediation. And I was in an emotional ego state at that point. And every decision I made was based on emotion, whether it was, and it affected, the stuff happening in the present moment and my future. And we're talking, divorced 5 years ago. So learned about rational ego. And I check my ego every 15 minutes. It sounds crazy, but it takes about 15 minutes for the human being to get into flow, when you have no distractions and you're on fire. So I picked that 15 minutes because of flow. And when I have the alarm set now, somewhat distracting to try to have your alarm for every 15 minutes, but it does stop you and get you to pause and acknowledge your thoughts. And I'll tell you, Steve, when you acknowledge your thoughts, it's powerful because our thoughts are really illusions. We're creating our thoughts, and we make up the story in our head. So I'll find myself, if I'm focused on a project and I'm checking my ego every 15 minutes, there's sometimes I'm working on something else. I'm like, how did I get to this? It could have been a pop-up on my screen, an email. So I check my ego every 15 minutes, and to get back from an emotional to a rational state, it's that deep breath, that oxygen to the brain. It gets you right back to that rational ego state.
I love that. Yeah, there's a lot of great nuggets in there, and I'm hoping the community is just soaking everything up here. But again, if you don't have a spiritual walk, it's okay. I know you
Mhm.
talked about
Mhm.
spiritual journey,
Yeah.
Drew. But ego, I heard that as an acronym for
Mhm.
edging God out, right? And
Mhm.
yeah, it's and sometimes we just want to kind of do it all ourselves. And you mentioned fear,
Mhm.
and that driving us, and often when we're relying on a power greater than ourselves,
Mhm.
often it gives us the courage to kind of be able to move on when
Mhm.
we're in that kind of state. Well, listen, Yolanda has a question, and she's amazing. We just appreciate you, Yolanda, big time. You are an incredible community member here. So she wants to ask a question. So let's go on that one. How does one check their ego? So that's her question. Very straightforward.
That's a great question, Yolanda. And checking your ego, first of all, you need to be aware of yourself. Self-reflection and awareness is so important. And your ego begins with your thoughts. So what I've done is, we have standards in life, our standards. And those are like fixed characteristics of us, right? My standards are integrity, honesty, and authenticity. So standards are number one. The second thing is your belief system. All right. Most of our belief system, we have it by age 7, just by people we're around, what we're taught. And about 90% of our belief system is formed by the age of 18. So think about this. If you have a belief system that's 90% formed by the age of 18, we're basically living other people's lives. And it's not our family's fault or people around us fault. It's the generations upon generations passed down stuff they learned. And I believed my the belief system people were teaching me. I heard it from my mom, my dad, the school systems, coaches, all that stuff. So I believed it. At some point, it started not to feel right. I get this twinge in my chest, the intuition when I want to make a decision, right? So you check your ego by what your standards are, which don't change. They're you as in the core, but your belief system. Belief systems can change. And I did end up changing my belief system, because when I was making decisions, if I had that feeling that it didn't feel right, usually wasn't right. And as a reformed people pleaser, when I was a people pleaser, I went against my intuition. I made those decisions based on my old belief system. And then afterwards, I'm mad at myself. I start to resent myself, right? So I finally realized, wait, it's a better way to live, the way I want to live. I'm going to create my own belief system. And that's really, it's your belief system and your standards help you check your ego.
I love that, and I think that some people can kind of get thrown off by the word ego because they think
Mhm.
that it means egomaniac,
Mhm.
and I think what we're speaking about ego being your self identity, your self worth,
Mhm.
you're defining who you are,
Right.
not necessarily some glorified egomaniac like we
Yeah.
said before. So great question,
Absolutely.
Yolanda. Thank you,
Thanks,
Drew, for
Yolanda.
that. Yeah,
Absolutely.
that was awesome. So we're going to move on to the next question. So I want you to community, and again, appreciate everyone's comments and participation. Get in there if you have a question or a comment. We want to hear it. This is your show. It's not our show. It's your show. So get in there. But we want to talk on journey, right? We talked about you having an amazing journey, and so here's the question, right? Your journey involves overcoming a grueling divorce, job loss, and personal loss. right? How did you take control and start writing your own story amidst such adversity?
Geez, that's a good question, and I always go back to growing up. I was taught that life is linear, right? We're taught that if you do A plus B plus C plus D, E is going to happen, right? So truthfully, it's a lie. We've been lied to, and I never really thought about that until was older and I had all that stuff happen. I'm not angry I was lied to. I know why I was taught that stuff because it worked for some people, right? Now I did all the right stuff, all the stuff I was supposed to do, Steve. I did the school and the college and the married and the kids and the job and I did everything right. And I still ended up divorced. I still got fired from my job. My son still had mental health issues, and my dad got unexpectedly sick and passed away. It happened. Well, I started to question everything I learned, everything about my life. And when things happen to you, and and we talked about ego, it's also self identity, self worth. And the way I define self identity is where you are in the self trust, self respect, and self love. Those three things together equal your self confidence. I had low self trust, low self respect, low self love, and meaning low self confidence. So when all this happened to me, I played the blame game. It was the victim mindset. I blame my wife for the divorce. I blame my boss for firing me. I blame myself for my son, and I blame God for taking my father. Dangerous, dangerous place when you live with a victim or a blame mindset. It's that fixed mindset that woe is me, everything's happening to me. And what ends up happening is the law of attraction. If I have
Yep.
this feeling that everything's happening to me and nothing's going right, well,
Yep.
that'll continue because you are bringing that negative energy
Right.
and whatnot. So, geez, that journey, there were external circumstances that challenged me, and if we're not aware that life is not linear, and all of a sudden this circuitous road comes in front of us, we got to make decisions,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And what do those decisions entail, Steve? Do I give up or do I move forward?
That's right.
Those are our two decisions.
Yeah.
And what's unfortunate is, and I do, I help both men and women, mostly men, but when I help men, I help the women too.
Sure.
Men and women, we're both 50% of the population in the US. Men are 80% of the suicides.
Hmm. Wow.
So that decision, many men are making that decision to give up. And that scares the hell out of me. And that's my mission, is to, not just lower the divorce rate, but lower the suicide rate in this country. I made the decision to move forward. Now, how do you do that? You can move forward and still be empty. And I was empty after all that stuff happened to me. And I realized that there is a better way to live. And I decided to get rid of the regret in my life. I replaced it with forgiveness. And again, you have to be self-aware in order to forgive, but everything started for me with forgiveness. Now, who was I forgiving, Steve?
First yourself, right? Obviously.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I started forgiving myself and saying, Drew, you did not have the tools 5 years ago, 10 years ago that you have now. You didn't have the resources. So you made the best decision each way with what was available to you. Cut yourself some slack. So I stopped beating myself up just by eliminating regret and replacing it with forgiveness. And I forgave others for the error of their ways. They don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
Because when you harbor resentment and anger, those people you're angry at, they don't know you're angry at them. So not hurting them. You're
And
hurting
most of them don't really they don't even know what they did.
Nope.
Because they're so absorbed in their own life, they're not aware. They're not, most of the time they're not doing it on purpose to hurt you.
Right.
It's just what happens. But
Yeah.
so many great nuggets there. I mean, I just want to comment before I lose my thoughts here. But number one, I want to say I've heard this, and I have a mentor that's been in my life for many years, and he said, "Listen, it's not what happens to you, but it's how you react to it." Right? That's an important thing, right? The other thing that you said is, we don't have control of circumstances, but we do have control of two things. you know, our how we think, which is controlled often by how we speak, and our actions, which is sort of related to that action piece, right? So how we react, again, it's all about that. And blaming is so easy. It's so easy to blame others. You know, it's interesting, right? There's we hear in the spiritual realm, you know, the two greatest commandments, right? Love God and love others, right? But it's interesting. What nobody really talks a lot about is it's hard to love God and love others if you don't love yourself first. And you talked about self-love, right? So you gotta be able to love that. Now, granted, some of that, if you know that, you know, your daddy in heaven, your heavenly father, whatever, loves you, then it's maybe okay. If the, you know, the King of all kings loves you, then you got to be worthy, right? So there's some of that, but ultimately it takes some work, and I've had to work super hard on getting to a place where I appreciate and love me. So now I could be others focused and put that love and appreciation, you know, into other people.
Right.
But I want to just bring out here. So Yolanda says self-forgiveness allows you to let go of guilt, shame, and regret. Great point. Great ad there, Yolanda. Appreciate you big time. So let's keep this rolling because we got limited time, and I want to get to a lot of stuff. And we started talking on the tough times, right? You had mentioned a few things. I know my good friend Rob is going through some tough stuff right now. So let's type in hashtag tough. Keep Rob in prayer. But you know, you're this men's real catalyst, right? You know, you emphasize authenticity. How did you align, or how do you align your behaviors with your values, leading to self-fulfillment during your toughest times?
Absolutely. And you know, it really all does come back to being aware of yourself. That being in the present moment is so important. So I implemented a lot of gratitude in my life. In order for me to, knew I needed to get rid of the victim and blame mindset. And the way to do that was to get myself in the present moment. Now, how do we do that? Some people meditate. There's so many different ways to get yourself in the present moment. Now, I already told you I got rid of the past because I got rid of regret by replacing it with forgiveness, right? So then, you know, and a lot of times people are depressed because they focus on the past. So I was able to get rid of the depression piece about the past. Now I wanted to focus on the moment. For me to get into the present, the here and now, I had to be grateful for what I had. There were so many good things that I have that we take for granted, right? So I started really implementing gratitude. And what gratitude did, it replaced my blame and victim mindset. The minute I was able to replace that, I started seeing things that I used to see as barriers. They now turned into opportunities, Steve. And once an opportunity really is only as good as the action you take. So I started to lead with purpose. I started seeing these barriers as opportunities and saying, "Oh my gosh, I'm seeing the world differently because I'm more grateful of what I have." And I started then seizing those opportunities and taking action. Now, some of the stuff was small steps towards something I was afraid of and going through there. And man, when you start doing things scared, you start to succeed. And what happened was I started to get little wins. And instead of saying, "Oh, you know, bypassing the little wins because I wanted the big win," I started celebrating those small wins. Because the only way to get to the finish line, you know, when you have a staircase and there's 500 steps, you don't go from step one to the 500th step, right? You got to take little steps. Celebrate each step. Once I started celebrating those steps, the confidence started to come in, right? And because that confidence, it was powering my self-respect, my self-love, and my self-trust. And think about how that feels when you don't trust yourself, love yourself, and respect yourself, and all of a sudden you start doing things differently, and you start to feel good, and you build that confidence. All of a sudden you start to like yourself. Then you can go in the mirror and say, "Hey, Drew, I love you, man. You're doing a great job," and mean it. And not just mean it, feel it, Steve. What a wonderful feeling. And it's doable. Each one of us can do this. I say we can reinvent ourselves. 15 is my favorite number. Reinvent ourselves every 15 minutes.
Love that.
We can do that.
Great. Listen, you know, it's interesting that you're saying that because I have a talk that eventually I'll get to do on a TEDx stage. And it is in our weakness, there's power. In fact, the community, if you're interested in hearing a little snippet of that talk, I'm actually going to be doing it as a showcase presentation on Friday morning.
Oh, great.
So we're going to do a networking meeting from 8 to 9. But in the midst of that, I'll be showcased on and doing that talk specifically. So DM me, go to my profile. You'll see it's an event page I posted up. But if you want to come, I'd love to have you there. Love to see you, get to meet you. But it's going to be Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I know some of the West Coast are tuning in here. So Yolanda says, "Hey, I agree. Gratitude can help break you free from the victim mentality. It's true, and I actually have a gratitude list every morning. I do 3 things that I'm grateful for, and that's really helped my positive mental state, if you will. So I think we're not going to really be able to get to a bunch more here. I had a few more questions, but let me just touch on this one last one because we're all about inspiring, right? So community, type in hashtag inspire. And we're going to get ready to close down the show here. So you're going to bring it home for us. So type in hashtag inspire community. And here's the question for you, Drew, right? You've faced profound challenges personally and professionally. How do you inspire men and women to transcend self-limiting beliefs and make a lasting impact while staying true to themselves?
Absolutely. Thanks. I love that question. Yes, men and women alike, we're humans and we need each other. Men and women need each other. So the first thing I do is think about your identity, right? We talked about belief systems. You need to know who you are. So I empower men to define and design their desired identity, right? So when you know who you are, you begin to know where you're going, right? So that's the first step, and how we do that is first to acknowledge our thoughts. All right. The second phase is to master your emotions. Emotions are powerful, and the negative emotions are natural. You just don't want to sit in them too long. Master your emotions. All right. And the way we do that is we need to, because phase 2 is really eliminating self-doubt. So when you know who you are, you've built your identity, this is who I am, let's get rid of that self-doubt, because that doubt came from your previous identity. We get rid of that doubt, we've now mastered our emotions. So now you know who you are and where you're going. And now the next thing is you start to write your own story. And that's the lead with purpose piece. Most of us have been living somebody else's story, or we're letting other people write it for us. I empower men and women to choose to write their own story instead of letting others write it for them. And that's the leading with purpose. And you only can lead with purpose if you know who you are and where you're going. So that's how I would say for the inspiration piece. The greatness is inside of us. My job is to help you bring it out of yourself, because you don't need me all the time.
Love that. Love that. And it's interesting, right? Because I've labeled myself as an inspirational speaker versus a motivational speaker, because motivation itself it has to come within, right? But you could be inspired by somebody, and so I like that better. So I appreciate your perspective here. We're going to wind things down here. So we want you to tell our community, maybe if you have a final thought, but most importantly, how the best way for them to reach you. And I know you've got an offer that you'd like to offer up the community. So get a little bit, close out how the best way to reach and a little bit about the offer that you have here.
Absolutely. Best way to reach me would be my website is profitcompassion.com, but I'd say to email me, drew@profitcompassion.com. Another way, and I'll provide that to Steve, I host a webinar third Thursday of every month called Get Over Yourself, how to use the caveman formula to overcome self-sabotage. The caveman's an acronym, obviously a play on words for how I got through what I did. I also lead a men's group called Tribal Stoics, Monday mornings, 10 a.m. for men. It's a men's group. So that's 2 ways of reaching me. I'd say with the book, I wrote the book. It was out in April of 2023. It's called I'll Have What She's Having, Memoir of a Reformed People Pleaser. So my gift to you is you can download my free book. If you like the paper version, when you want to have it in your hand and the cover and all that, you can get it from Amazon, but free, just read it and reach out to me. I'd love to talk more about it. How all this stuff impacted me. And I really want to help change the world one human being at a time. So.
Love that. That's why you're on the show here, because that's exactly what we're about here on the show. So, Drew, we really appreciate you. I'm going to have you jump into the green room with us and chat with you a few minutes after the show is over. But thank you again for blessing our community and for all that you're doing, the great work you're doing. God bless, and we'll talk soon, and I'll see you in the green room shortly.
Thank
all right?
you, Steve. I appreciate you.
All right. That was amazing. So, hey, community, I want to just give you a little heads up. Next week, we've got an amazing episode. Not that this wasn't great, but, we're here, same bad time, same bad channel next week for episode 146. Wow. Wednesday, the 17th. And here's the topic title. What good is a goal without a plan? And it's going to be our friend, John Rankin. It's going to be a great show. Don't miss it. Make sure you get in, register for the event, share it with your community. If you're appreciating this show, please make sure to share it out with your community. Love, we appreciate it. We're here for you, and if you want more about our show, go to masterconnector.show. We are in the process of looking for people that want to sponsor episodes. So, if you're interested in that, you can learn more about that on the website as well, masterconnector.show. But this is amazing. And, most importantly, again, why we're here is for you. You are an incredible community. We appreciate you. We love you. We respect you. But you know what? Remember, we're in a dark world, and there's a lot of stuff. I mean, Drew, 80% men's suicide, crazy. We need to be the light. We need to uplift, inspire. So let's get out there. Let's be the light. Let's touch someone's lives through our words, through our actions, through our deeds, and make a difference. Because again, one connection can change your life, and that could be somebody that connects with you, or you connect with somebody. You never know where someone's at, and just one uplifting word, or just knowing that you cared enough to reach out, can really make the difference. So we appreciate your community. We're going to close out with the video, and we'll see you next week. Again, make sure you make sure to be the light. Love you guys.
Difference great, but being different for the sake of being different, you start to hear some of their challenges, and yes,
because it speaks to the core of who you are and what drives you forward. Because what makes you different is what drives you.